The Brother moves on, a part of a strong tradition of protest music and belief in the power of sound and music to fight injustice while absorbing daily struggles. The Mail and Guardian called them the most significant band in the country, while saxophonist Steve Dyer called them the last remaining protest band. Members of this internationally acclaimed outfit, Siyabonga, Mthembu and Mohammad Dawjee, join me now to discuss the launch of their new album, which is named after a speech by Pan-African revolutionary Thomas Sankara. Good morning, and of course, welcome to the show to both of my guests. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So let's talk about the new album and the title of the album, which I think has a lot of people sort of very interested in how the name came about. Connections to Thomas Sankara. Talk to us about that, Siyabonga.
So it's called She Who Feeds You Owns You. And it's after Sankara's last speech to the Organization of African Unity, where he said, he who feeds you owns you. And understanding him as the upright man and one of the most pro-feminist presidents we've had on the continent, we thought it fitting that if it happens in 2022, to quote it, it should have this dialectic at play. But onwards, we've decided that them who feed you owns you might have been a better name.
So the album is launching later this year, but you've got a tour coming up to try and, get attention around the album. Talk to us about that, the South African tour most specifically, Mo.
Yeah, so we've got some really cool dates coming up. We're very excited about it. We'll be in Cape Town on the 22nd and 23rd at Sides Marker and Selective Live, and then back in Joburg on the 28th.
28th, yeah.
28th at local Grill Parktown. It's kind of interesting that we've now had an activation happen in Melville at a restaurant, and our album launch will also be taking place at a restaurant in Parktown, kind of playing on the name as well. And then we'll be in Durban on the 29th at the Chairman.
I very interestingly saw on an Instagram post that you talked about how you're struggling to find venues to actually perform.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a testament to how eager people have been for live music and that live experience after COVID-19, being shut up and not being able to experience that it seems to be the thing that everybody wants to do now with all their time, to be out and about amongst people and, of course, enjoy their favorite sounds.
Yeah, the difficulty is a lot of venues didn't survive the COVID situation, so we're finding ourselves having to search and find new partnerships and new ways of making things happen. It's going back to like the DIY days of how it all began, I guess.
And I suppose there's beauty in that too, having to create the spaces from scratch. I suppose it gives you more power in curating the space as well.
Most definitely it does. Also the spaces we seem to have partnered with, we either were in conversations with them prior to COVID, or there were places which were our haunts prior to that. So even in going back, in some places we've had to go back to support the space, to relate to that audience as well, and we've had to find new ways of speaking to each other, rather than simply the old school, here's my performance fee, come and play,
Right.
So the idea of community and the music community has come back to the essence of what we're doing.
That collaboration.
Yeah, and connection to that audience, because we also badly want to be in a room together sharing music again.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I said there in the introduction that the Mail and Guardian has quoted your band as the most important band, the most significant band in the country presently, largely because of the music that you produce, the messaging in the music, the issues that you're highlighting in the music. Mo, talk to us about the, I suppose the conscious decision to go down that path, create music that is going to, ignite conversation, is going to speak to and perhaps give voice to a lot of social ills that don't get as much attention.
I think music in the black tradition has always been about some kind of struggle, and I don't mean struggle in the sense of like angst or hostility, but I do mean struggle in the sense of like reaching for something, and reaching for a collective consciousness. So my experience in The Brother Moves On has not been since the beginning of the band, but in my limited time here, I've experienced that purpose or utility of the music, and that drive to kind of focus on that, to speak to what is happening, to reflect on what is happening, not to necessarily say you need to think this and this, but to critically say, like, are we seeing this, you know? Are we hearing this? Are we hearing what our time sounds like?
I want us to just quickly take a listen to a little segment of the music that you've shared with us, and perhaps also just give you an opportunity, Siyabonga, to talk to us about, you know, as a vocalist in the band, where you draw your inspiration from.
Hey, Busim Shongo, Begim Seleko. I come from like a tradition of like trying to echo what has been played to me since I was a kid. So Sakile, Sankomota, the list kind of can go on. More currently, I won't lie, Thandi Somezwai is a huge influence on how I vocally do sound as a human being. And of course, she's an echo of Busim Shongo. So we're just, it's these spaces echoing to each other, you know. Who else could I think of? I gotta also give credence to the Tandin Dulis, the Bokani Dyers, the Tumi Mohorosi, the Malcolm Giannis, the Gabby Motubas, the Siyamakuzenis. Those who also, in my trying to find my voice, have been contemporaries and people around who I've drawn from in their music, and also been people that I know, you know.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I want to say thank you to both of you for joining us in our studios and for helping us to have this conversation. When is the album officially being launched again?
The 28th of October at the local grill in Parktown, and it's been premiered at the London Jazz Festival on the 15th of November and at the Berlin Jazz Festival on the 3rd of November.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much for joining us in our studios today.